every day is an opportunity. So you can't just dabble in these things. You have to really own who the heck you are. Get up, move, smile. You can cry later, you can do that too, but you gotta move. You can't just sit here because the world keeps spinning on this axis. When you don't move and you stay stagnant, you watch other people improve, saying, oh, must be nice. Oh, he's got the nice suit, he's got the nice car, got the house, got the wife, must be nice. You become that punk. Why are you worried about them? You have every opportunity to get that too, if that's what you want. You're just too scared or you're too tired. Well, we talk about Elon Musk all the time, like that man don't sleep. I average 4 hours of sleep during those Olympia runs. If they say, oh, you got bags in your eyes, I earned them. You got injured, I earned that too. Battle scars, yes, because I've been to war.
It really is a war with your own brain, isn't it? To do the kind of things that you've done. You might argue success in general, it is that war with your own brain, right? So checking the self-doubt, checking the gratitude practices. I've seen you being quite grateful on your socials as well.
All in all, it's all about being gracious. It's all about being in gratitude because I was not owed anything. And I'm just thankful for the experiences that I actually have as being a 7-time Mr Olympia. I mean, heck, I'm tied with Schwarzenegger, okay? There is nothing to be sad about or anything like that. Anyone would love to be able to say they are tied with Arnold Schwarzenegger in bodybuilding. There's a reason why I smile all the time, because this kid growing up in Seattle did not have a clue as to what he was going to be doing at the age of 40. Damn sure wasn't bodybuilding.
The world is changing. Inspiration is everywhere. It has never been so easy to connect, share, and bring people together. We're learning from others and finding the best in ourselves. Challenging our beliefs. Sharing our vulnerability. Overcoming our fears. Transforming ourselves so we can transform the world. How far can we go?
This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is...
This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is Phil Heath, the American professional bodybuilder, entrepreneur, and philanthropist who won the Mr. Olympia title 7 times back-to-back between 2011 and 2017. You were nicknamed The Gift and became world-renowned for your incredible work ethic and positive mindset. Last year, you returned to the Mr. Olympia competition at the age of 41, determined to equal the record for the most Mr. Olympia titles, and finished a very impressive 3rd place after a full year off. Today, you continue to inspire athletes around the globe while also supporting at-risk young people and raising awareness around issues of mental health. Phil, welcome to London Real.
Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you. I'm looking to go deep today. And I was reading some quotes of yours recently, and I wanted to quote them back to you because they were powerful. You once said, quote, "There's no secret to greatness. What separates the good from the great is the very rare trait of not being satisfied with good." You went on to say, if you want the victory, then be prepared for the fight. And Phil, when I heard that, it immediately reminded me of Michael Jordan as we saw him in the documentary, The Last Dance, where we saw what it takes to win. And it ain't always pretty what it takes to win. And I was wondering, from a guy who's been at the top, who changed the game, who brought real professionalism to the sport, can you tell us, what does it actually take to win?
A lot of faith in yourself. Just understanding that every day is an opportunity that must be seized with massive action. So you can't just dabble in these things. You have to really own who the heck you are. But to be honest, you truly have to figure out what your current habits are. Because I think a lot of people talk about their goals, but they're not assessing their current habits, because those same habits are going to yield either positive or negative results. So for me, it was always like, okay, when I won my first amateur competition, I'm thinking, okay, what were my current habits? Although I won, how can I improve on that? And over the course of a 15 plus year career, I was able to garner 7 Olympia titles. But overall, it was more about taking each moment, each day, and breaking things down even to the minute of why I do what I do, and understanding that if some things don't work, I actually have the answer as to how to pivot. But when we always talk about pivoting, sometimes we pivot into a negative direction because we're just trying to avoid what's really in front of us, which is the hard work. Maybe I need to pivot and face my own fears, face myself, face the criticism, take it and produce more knowledge and education about who I am, more emotional intelligence, and just go for it.
I mean, it really is a war with your own brain, isn't it? To do the kind of things that you've done. You might argue success in general, it is that war with your own brain, right? So checking the self-doubt, checking the gratitude practices. I've seen you being quite grateful on your socials as well. I mean, is that the ultimate lesson to people listening, that you've got to master your own mind?
Yeah, and it's not static, it's very dynamic, right? Like life is ever changing. So, the way I thought maybe as a 15-year-old kid, nowhere near my process as a 41-year-old adult. And that comes with, experiencing life. And I think not knowing everything is great because there's so much more knowledge you can attain by having that mindset of like, let me empty my cup right now. Let me absorb more information from some people that may have experienced things in areas that I'm not an expert at. Always having a willingness to learn and knowing that my job is just not finished yet. There's so much more that I have to offer. And that's the cool part of having that uncertainty of like where my life may go. Because when I was growing up in Seattle, Washington, wanting to be a NBA player at 5'9", I was able to realize, okay, there's some steps that I have to take just to get a college scholarship. I was able to do that. And during college, I did not think that I was going to be a professional bodybuilder. Okay. I was going to school for business and computer science, and I switched over to IT. And lo and behold, basketball at the collegiate level just did not transpire into the professional career that I dreamt of. But I was able to pivot in the right direction, taking all of those lessons. Those losses became better lessons for me, and understanding that, wow, I can make this applicable in other areas. So when bodybuilding came into my life, I realized, wow, I already have a lot of tools that some people may not, which is being a self-starter. I grew up as an only child, so I always had to get myself up for school. My mom and dad, they worked full time. So there was no one but just me sometimes getting myself up. So being a self-starter, understanding that, I have to be willing to do the work where there's someone watching or no one watching. And, over that course of time, and just realizing like, wow, becoming a bodybuilder, it was like I was in that perfect fit to exude every attribute that I had growing up. And I did not get there without taking those Y's in the road. Not all were pretty, but understanding that it was all about putting myself in the best position to succeed. And that's something I preach about nonstop. And that's why I'm in full gratitude, because I did not wake up. I did not come into this world, with everything handed to me. I had to work for everything, just like everybody else. But realizing that even me placing third at that last year's Olympia, I wasn't upset. I was disappointed in my performance because I felt that I didn't peak. And that's just being an athlete. That's just being honest. But I was able to look at everyone in that audience and just be like, wow, they're able to see me after 2.5 years of just inactivity, 2 surgeries, this and that. How about I just absorb this moment? These people are kind of in shock at the same time because they're like, well, we're not used to seeing Phil lose. How they saw me, I hope, was them seeing me a man that is confident in his abilities, gracious for what he accomplished. They saw me hug on the other guys, congratulate them, raise their hands up, because that's what this is about. You have your time and someone else may have their time, and you congratulate them, and I can move on and try to figure out my next 5 chess moves. But all in all, it's all about being gracious. It's all about being in gratitude, because I was not owed anything. And I'm just thankful for the experiences that I actually have as being a 7-time Mr Olympia. I mean, heck, I'm tied with Schwarzenegger, okay? There is nothing to be sad about or anything like that. Anyone would love to be able to say they are tied with Arnold Schwarzenegger in bodybuilding that lifts weights, no question about it. So there's a reason why I smile all the time, because this kid growing up in Seattle did not have a clue as to what he was going to be doing at the age of 40. Damn sure wasn't bodybuilding.
I mean, Phil, in some ways, do you think in 2020 that there were members in the audience that had more respect for what you did then than, say, the win in 2016 or 15? Because you saw a man come back, put himself on the line, knowing that nothing was guaranteed on that stage, knowing that you'd be criticized and under the microscope. I mean, I know if I'd have been in the audience, I probably would have given you more respect for that. I had Ice-T, the rapper, on before, and he said, Brian, it's not about the come up, it's about the come back. That's when we see what you're made of. Anybody can string together some wins, but can you come back from a hard time? So did you feel that there was maybe a different level of respect from people?
Online for sure. While up on stage, I wasn't quite sure how to process that. I think for me, it was more of an attitude check, because I had to exude a certain level of professionalism. And I wanted to shock everybody, of letting them know that, don't worry, I'm okay, because I didn't do this show specifically just to win. This was more of a moral victory for me, to prove that I went through more adversity than probably 99% of the guys in the world did that compete. Having that microscope that you speak of, being expected to always win, not peak for, gosh, I mean, once in my entire career, and actually stand up there and be like, yeah, I did this. And you're right, I did put my title on the line, I put my legacy on the line, but I think that's what champions do. They don't always, I mean, we criticize people that pick their fights all the time. For me, it was like, no, I'm going to do this because I want to see what I'm made of, because I just might win, but I just might win in a different way of knowing who I am as a human being. And that was the biggest takeaway. So I feel like the fans did see their person that maybe they loved or hated at one point have a certain level of, I don't want to say humility, but like, he's vulnerable. He can lose, but he can be happy. He can be okay. And I think that from my direct messages that I receive on social media, to the emails, to people I meet, they were inspired by knowing that, wow, like, you did this for us. You didn't have to come back. Your legacy was already solidified. But I do understand where you're coming from, because in 2015, 2016, people are just so used to you winning, they want to see somebody else. So they may, not be as impressed, or, they're just like, whatever. But that 2020 will always be a defining moment in my career and in my life.
I know you watch yourself back on stage and you're hypercritical of yourself on stage, which I know a lot of people would be surprised. But when I heard you talk about that, I'm like, that's the mindset of a champion, because that's when all of your work, it comes down to those few moments on stage. I know you compared this one time to an Olympian that trains 4 years for a 100-meter dash. And so you look at your body language. I know you one time said you could see that you kind of exhaled when you got the result one time as a relief, but that's not what a champion should do. When you watched yourself on 2020, did it feel like it exuded a different energy, that energy of kind of gratitude, that, guys, I'm okay and I'm here and I wanted to win. I still want to win, but I'm okay with this process?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely had mixed emotions that Saturday evening. I knew that the likelihood of me winning was pretty slim, because I also see the body language of judges, because I can see them in the audience, and they don't have the greatest poker faces, let me tell you. and I just felt it. I mean, the fact that I've been able to feel what it was taking to come up in the ranks and actually then win for 7 straight years, you see everybody else's mannerisms. So for me, it was just the biggest attitude check of my career. I needed people to understand that I'm okay. And if this is the last time you see me, I want you to understand that I took this like a man, that I wasn't upset, that I wasn't about bitterness. I was all about gratitude and just being happy that I was up there. And to be quite honest, it was the first time I was able to, you have to think, I was on stage with Dexter Jackson, who won the Olympia in '08, who I was on stage with when he won that title. Brandon Curry, who I've, seen come up. We turned pro around the same time. I wasn't on stage when he won in 2019, but then you got to see another person, Ramy, Big Ramy, being able to win. He's always been like my biggest fan. And just to be able to have that moment and share that with, we had 4 Mr. Olympias on one stage. That's pretty cool. So that's a memory that I get to walk away with instead of being like, oh man, F this, I lost this and that. It's like, yes. Do I have those moments? Yes. But I switched it very quickly and just said, look, man, like this is a moment that like in 20 years, people are going to maybe do a documentary about this and talk about the time where there were 4 kings on the Olympia stage during a pandemic when everybody was against adversity and we got to see a new champion crowned. So that was, for me, like that was my storyline. That was how I view it. I still view it that way, like how cool it was. I'll be honest, I did tell Ramy some jewels of wisdom, and basically I grabbed him, hugged him, told him I love him, but you got to be better because you just never know if I may come back. And that was just a push. That would be like Michael Jordan telling Kobe, like you got to be better, man. I expect better than you. Because of the fact that you won the contest, that's not where it ends. That's where it begins.
Yeah. Well, I was going to wait till later, but the next Olympia is just over 3 months. Are you coming back?
Those questions are definitely still circulating even in my house. But as of right now, I'm completely undecided. I'd be more leaning toward not. Right now, I've got some other things on the burner that are of great importance. But like I said, you just never know. I've been in shape throughout this year, and I've been getting a lot of interest from other people. What's Phil's next move as far as competitive stage. I haven't retired, so I'll just say that. And I'm proving to myself that I can be multifaceted and doing other things. And that was something that I respected with Arnold, because when he did his 6th Olympia, I believe that was around the time when Pump and Iron was created. He then left, and he had explained, I will always be a bodybuilder, but there's some other things that he wanted to try. And those things were acting and such. But then he was able to come back, and I believe in 1980, and then win. So, I think I'm allowed the same opportunity. And, I just don't want to automatically revert to say, I'm doing this, because there's other things that I also have on my plate that I would like to experience, especially at 41 years old. This is beginning to be like a 35 to 45-year-old sport. Before it was like a young man's game. Now it's like Dexter Jackson competed at 51 years old. Still was like, I believe, top 10. So you just never know. So I know that was a long-winded answer, but like I'm gonna keep everybody guessing, and but I will definitely, if I were to do it, they'll know pretty soon.
Yeah, that's a good answer. You mentioned Michael Jordan. When you watch that documentary, The Last Dance, what do you see? Because I think you might see something different than other people would see. A lot of people were shocked that he still held grudges with members of the Pistons, were shocked that he was still angry about a foul or a thing. But then other people I spoke to said, no, that's the championship mindset that maybe not everybody shows on their Instagram feed. But we saw that realness with Michael. What did you see that maybe we didn't see?
Well, I saw a person who was unapologetic about his success. When he literally said, if you don't want to play that way, don't play that way. That's the type of vulnerability that I don't think people understand, is that like he was able to show so much vulnerability of explaining how much winning meant to him, that he literally had to take his earpiece out and walk away because it was a very emotional part for him. I felt those same things, where trying to figure out why you do what you do. You had mentioned earlier about when it was in 2010, Jay and I were competing. They announced me second, or announced him first. Therefore, I was second, and I exhaled. I realized very quickly that I wasn't emotionally fit to be a champion. And if I really want to be one, I have to exude it in everything I do. And I have to be unapologetic. I have to demand more from others that want to be a part of this team, chiropractor, trainer, girlfriend, whatever it is, because I have a mission and I'm not going to let anyone F that up. So from Jordan, from watching that Last Dance, I applaud him because he did deal with a lot of criticism. I mean, to me, he's the GOAT. I think a lot of people would agree, but it wasn't always like that. I mean, I'm 41. So I watched him from 84 on, and he was always criticized in the media. He shoots too much. He shoots way too much. He doesn't pass enough. He doesn't make his teammates better, all these other things. But, I got to see the evolution of his game and his mindset and being able to watch Last Dance. I mean, I probably watched that through and through close to 10 times, episodes 1 through X, like at least 10 times. And it's because of the fact that I'll be honest, I truly respect those people who have gone through it and expect greatness out of themselves, and therefore they want it he wanted it for everyone else. He just had a different way of speaking about it. So for me, I'm like, God bless him, man. Like, I would have loved to have been on that team. I would have loved to have someone, push me like that. Because I would have stood there and said, this is the guy that's going to take me to the promised land. I just got to play my role, and I better show up every freaking day like a beast. Because if, God forbid, something happens to him, I got to show up and be that lion. So, like I said, in that documentary, it was incredible. Like his mindset, his ability to know, like, Scottie Pippen's injured and I got to take this game over. I don't like it. And that was the cool part. He said, I don't like it, but it's what has to be done. And I think that's being real. There's a lot of leg workouts that I don't like. There's a lot of meals and cardio that I don't like. Even some appearances that I may not want to do, but I got to do it. That's what being a professional is at the highest level. And you do it with a smile on your face because you are still in gratitude. You just know that at that given moment, you're like, damn, it would be nice to have a little bit of help, but you know what? I got this. I know who the hell I am. I can make this happen. How powerful is that guy?
Yeah, it's powerful. I mean, that moment you're talking about was the best moment of the series. It's when he gets so emotional because, like you said, he said, if you're not prepared to play the level at that game, then don't. And I've had a couple mentors over the years, Phil, and they demand the most from me. And even when I do something incredible, they say, you could be 1,000 times better. And people look at them and they say, oh, they're mean, they're nasty, they're demanding, they don't understand what life is about. But the way Jordan does and the way some of my mentors do, for them, it's the essence of being human. It's the ultimate gratitude by being the best you can be at something, even if it seems obsessive, but it's almost honoring this life we were given on this planet. And so when I hear Michael talk about it, he's like, it's my duty to be the greatest possible. And it's your duty too, if you want to be anywhere near me. And I don't apologize for that. And that is maybe the essence of what it means to be human. That's the way I see it. But I know a lot of people who maybe have never been around someone like that or haven't pushed themselves to those high performance lengths will look at that and just say, oh, he's obsessed and he clearly doesn't have his priorities down. And I'm sure they said things like that about you, but he was
100%. No, that's what the gift actually means. My nickname, that means it's not just a gift from God that I got these talents. It's able to figure out what your niche is in life and run with it. Run like hell with it. Be passionate about it. Know that the negative noise will come. But if you can stay focused and just put everything into it and be obsessed, you should be obsessed with that gift. Picasso should be obsessed with his gift, right? Michael Jordan, Usain Bolt, Michael Phelps slapping the water. He was obsessed. You knew he was possessed. But what did he do with it? Did some incredible stuff with it. I think if everybody figured out what they're great at, I don't care what it is, and really gave a damn about their success every single day, we'd see some triumphant moments, especially during this time, during post COVID, whatever you want to call it, that there would be some amazing documentaries. You know, I'm expecting to see some really huge triumphant moments in our human existence, because there are those people out there and they have the ability. They just need to maybe hear it from someone like myself or the exchange that we're having, to know that they're not alone. But you got to start. You got to start using that gift. You got to give a damn about it. You can't just talk about it. You got to put foot to that ass and go. And you have to do it. Honestly, you got to do it on your worst day. That's the craziest part. If I were to ask 10 adults, 10 guys, you guys want to go train chest and arms? They'd say, hell yeah, let's go kill it. If I say you want to go train legs, maybe half of them show up. And out of that half of the 10, the 5 that show up, 2 of them are really already checked out. One's kind of like teeter-tottering, and the other 2 are like, let's do this. So those are the people that, you know, we are. And like, we really have to hone in on, like I said, why do we do what we do? What do we really want? It's okay to be passionate. You're passionate about your family. You're obsessed about your family, right? You're obsessed about certain things because they mean something. It's not a bad thing. To me, it's not bad. As long as you're not hurting someone, you know, putting someone down, demotivating someone, not fanning those people's flames, extinguishing their flames with negativity and BS, I think you're doing okay. You know, and I think that that's what we need to focus on. We need innovation. We need people to be innovative. We need people to be inspired. We need people to care. And that's what I many night that I would be in the gym by myself after midnight. I didn't have any spotters. I got in there with the intention of knowing that if I can do this with no entourage and everyone else has one, I won. If I can get in there 3 times a day and train smarter and harder, I won. I put myself in a different position dealing with life. I didn't become a victim of my own circumstances. Had my dad died a night of when I was doing a guest appearance in Cleveland, Ohio. I did the appearance. I also did a VIP meet and greet with 100 people waiting in a restaurant. They didn't even know, but that's what professionals do. That's what you do. And you're not like, you didn't see me post it up on Facebook. Why? Because that's what average people do. Everybody goes through these things. But what standard do you hold yourself to? If I hold myself to a higher standard, then that means that I'm not going to walk around like, oh man, woe is me. That's low vibrational BS that we cannot have, because you also don't know who else is watching. Could be you, but it also could be the next you. And they don't need to see that. They need to see strength. They need to see positivity. They need to see vulnerability as well. They need to know, like, yeah, you know, dad died, this and that. I knew that was coming. It sucked. He died at 65. You know, I felt cheated, this and that. But yeah, I mean, but I see him every day and here and here. I'm good. I'll be all right. Ain't none of us going to cheat death. You know, so it is what it is. But what's the inspiration that you can provide to someone else that may be going through the same thing? You can't do it when you're so, you know, you can't. It's not inspirational. If someone asks, what's it like to be Mr. Olympia? So much dieting, so much this, so much that. Why would someone even want to do it? We're not getting paid millions of dollars like NBA players. We do it because we freaking love it. So I always remind guys, even on tour, like, when you say you do this, you better know why you're doing this. Because I'll be damned if this sport dies because you're, you know, that. No, you do it because you love it. And if you don't, there's plenty of other things I'm sure you're going to be great at. And that's just how I live my life.
Yeah, I think the definition of a professional is someone who makes it look easy. That's what I always aspire to, and I always tell my team, like, they make it look easy to where you fool everybody to thinking it is easy, but then the other pros know it's not, and they're looking at you like, okay, I know that's like the tip of the iceberg, right? There's 90-some% under the water that they don't see. And it's like you, they see you once a year, Mr. Olympia, bam, 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 oh, the big smile, looks amazing. And then they just assume the rest of the year is fraught with some workouts and some dieting. They don't see, right? They don't see all the stuff. I mean, you travel like crazy. The injuries you push through, the ups, the downs, all the madness going on behind the scenes, you keep that to yourself and you kind of swallow it down, right? And that's what makes you ultimately worthy of being the champion and a professional.
Yeah, I mean, there was no room for it. During those segments of time, okay, Phil, you're dealing with a passing of a loved one, a business that may be failing. You got divorced. What do you want to do? You have a choice. You want to sulk, or you want to get back to work. And then when you're done working out, then you can kind of deal with this other stuff. But if that becomes so much of a distraction to your goal, I don't know if you really signed up for it. You might have signed up for it in pencil.
Yeah.
I signed up for it in blood. There's a difference. And if I do that, that means that hella high water, I'm getting it done. Because I have to assume, look, I was told this by a coach, gosh, I must have been like 8, 9 years old. And he said, if someone told you 80% of your life would be pretty darn good, wouldn't you be happy about that? And we're all like, yeah. We're all kids at camp. Yeah, of course, 80%, yeah. He goes, then why do you allow 20% of your bad days look like they're 80%? And he's trying to get our mind at that early age. He's like planting seeds. So he's basically saying, like, majority of your life is going to be pretty freaking awesome. You're going to have some crap though. You are. But overall, 80% is probably going to be bliss. It's going to be okay. It's going to be all right. 20% of it is going to be like effed up, but that's also an experience. And I'm dealing with human experience every day. I'm not exempt from my businesses getting their ass beat in COVID and stuff. I do traveling every weekend. So to have my books wiped clean, destroyed, that killed me. But I had to pivot. I could have been like this, or I could say, you know what, let's figure something out. That's what you do. You don't give up. You have to assume that there's going to be an adversary, an enemy, something. If you don't, like, you're living in a fairy tale. You have to assume, especially for people that watch or read comics, watch certain, DC or Marvel movies, they always have an antagonist. They always have some level of, adversity. You're going to get your butt whipped, but then they come back. And like you said about Ice-T, it's about the comeback, man.
Yeah.
Those Rocky movies that we watched as kids, as adults, like, we're like, you can still watch it today and still get happy because you're like, you already know the ending, but like, you just want to see, you want to feel it. And I think every day we have that opportunity to figure out what drives us, change our habits, acknowledge our losses as lessons, and have the courage. Got to have the courage to get back up and get after it again.
Yeah, I think it's that Joseph Conrad hero's journey that I think it's part of human DNA. We connect to the hero's journey because we want to see the comeback, like Ice-T said. The come up, it's not as interesting. The comeback is something we can all relate to. We've all been there. It's the cycle of life. But framing it that way is so important, especially for the kids. And, it reminded me of another line in the series The Last Dance with Dennis Rodman was in the locker room, and he said, they don't pay me to play basketball. He said, that's easy. He said, they pay me for all the stuff that happens outside of the court. That's why they pay me, right? All the distractions, all the dramas, all the problems. And you could see him fighting his demons. And at that level, your demons come to see you, right, Phil? And I'm sure they came to see you. You don't have to make an appointment. When you're up there on the stage and at the highest level, they come find you, right? Like in the Matrix. And so it is like a Marvel comic. As a matter of fact, if you're not seeing those, you're probably not being who you should be. You're probably not really going for it because you got to fight those things every day. And then even you, when you get off stage, you get them in all sorts of other ways. And I think you even once said, if you want something you never had before, you got to be willing to do something you've never done before. So it sounds like you're still in that learning mindset, that growth mindset where you're like, okay, this is a new problem. I guess I got to figure this out.
It's more armor. It's more armor that you get to take with you to battle. So I could be as corny as to talk about like a, like a old Nintendo game with freaking Legend of Zelda. The first thing you start off with is just a wooden freaking sword, a wooden sword. After a while, you get ones that are made out of different materials. Next thing you know, you got one that shoots fire and all those other lasers and stuff. But you started off with nothing. You had to know what it felt like to have nothing, and you build, but you earn, you build, you earn, you build. And then once you get all this armor, you got to slay that dragon at the end of the game. You're like, man, but I did all this other cool stuff. Yeah, but now you got to use it. So all these lessons in life, all these whys in the road and all these things, you started developing armor for the next battle. And what people don't realize is that they already have the armor. They just haven't recognized it and want to use it. When the people who use it, they're the ones that are having books written about them, monuments built. Those are the ones. I was never the person that wanted to just beat the game. I wanted to get the highest score. And that's why I'm still eager to learn new things. And it doesn't mean that I don't get knocked down. It doesn't mean that I don't have my own habits that need to be corrected. But that's the beauty of it, is that I have an opportunity. I have a choice. But I know that even leading into, this next phase of my life, I say I'm on the back nine of the golf course. Ever since I turned 40, I was like, I'm on the back nine now, right? I get to take everything I've learned throughout those first 40 years into the next 40 plus. I think I'm going to be all right, because I've experienced quite a bit of stuff, and it has nothing to do. I'm not comparing myself to anyone else, but I'm saying for me, something bad happens in business, I should know better. Something bad happens in bodybuilding, I should know better. Something happens in a relationship, I should know better. I have the armor, so I can go to war with anything. It's just having, I've learned this, even with my fiance. She's said, you already have it. You have the it. You're just not using it right now. You're being low vibrational. You're not doing, like, you're being a puss. She's Italian. She can talk crazy to me and stuff. But seriously, but sometimes, you're like, man, like, I just want to break. I want to break from the noise. I want to break from the life. No, you don't. No, you don't. You want to go back? You want to go back when you graduated in college, had no money, had no nothing? Nothing? No, you don't want that. You're just a little, you may be fatigued, but you got to switch it. And you got to switch your mindset first. And you got to maybe then show some gratitude and say, I've experienced quite a bit of stuff. I've earned a lot. I'm thankful. Why not go further? I'm not finished. Get up, move, smile. You can cry later. You can cry in the car. You know what I mean? Like, you can do that too, but you gotta move. You can't just sit here, because the world will keep spinning on this axis. And what's crappy is that when you don't move and you stay stagnant, you watch other people improve, and then you become a bitter ass piece of crap, hater, saying, oh, must be nice. Oh, he's got the nice suit. He's got the nice car, got the house, got the wife. Must be nice. You become that punk. Why are you worried about them? You have every opportunity to get that too, if that's what you want. You're just too scared, or you're too tired. Well, we talk about Elon Musk all the time. Like, that man don't sleep. If you want it bad enough, you will. I averaged 4 hours of sleep during those Olympia runs. It was, if they say, oh, you got bags in your eyes, I earned them. You got injured, I earned that too. Battle scars, yes, because I've been to war. And I think that's what some people are afraid to do. You're gonna get hit. You're gonna get beat down. You're gonna have a scar. It has to happen. But it also tells a story. It tells a story about how you created some triumphant moments for yourself, how you develop some more self-esteem, some self-confidence, some self-awareness, so that now like you can help somebody else, because that's what the true gift is in life, is to be able to take your own personal experiences and be able to share them with other people who you may not even come in contact with.
Yeah.
And God willing that they actually take it and they run like hell with it too. How about that? If we could actually do stuff like that for other people, that's what social media was supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
Instead of all the negative crap, we could inspire other people. So that's really how my mind, especially right now in 2021, works.
Some big lessons there. It took me 40 years to figure out that the reason I was here is to be of service. My young punk mind didn't get that. I thought it was all about me. And I got paid well for that mindset in depression, addiction, and loneliness. And then when I finally figured it out, the game, I thought, oh, wow, the more you give, the more you get. And so that's such a crucial point. And also what you said, find your niche and be the best at it. I mean, Phil, imagine if you walked out on the street and you had the best bus driver in the world, the best barista, the best policeman, the best bodybuilder, the best broadcaster. Imagine if everybody was like 100x their game. This world would, it would literally, we wouldn't even be able to recognize it. And so imagine if we could empower people to do that. And like you said, that's what social media was built for. You said a lot of times we want to break from the noise. And I like how you said that. But you think you want to break from the noise. But what you need is maybe to take a breath, and then you need to go back actually deeper into the noise, because we all think we need a break. But like you said, it's actually not what you want, because then you check out, the world goes by, and you become the bitter one. What you have to do is you got to double and triple down on that noise and get back in there. And like you said, take those hits, build that armor. And sometimes you need someone like you to remind you of that, because the rest of the world's telling you to take a break, enjoy being the victim. That's a big thing these days. But that's the worst thing that can happen.
No,
right?
it's being sold every moment.
I know. That's why they need, I was about to say, grumpy old men like us talking about it. You're not that old. Let's talk about social media, because it's interesting, because when you started back in 2011, I mean, Instagram didn't exist at that point. There wasn't that much social, and then you grew up in the social era. And I know you don't call them haters, you call them lovers, because they're obviously interested in you. And I love that vibration. I had Grant Cardone on my show, and he's a big real estate investor. And he said, Brian, hate is the same energy as love. It's just when they transmit it, it just gets a little funny on the way in, but it's still ultimately love. It might feel like hate to you, but they clearly are paying attention to you. Maybe they want something you want. Maybe they even want to be like you. Maybe you inspire them, but the message gets a little messed up in transition and it looks like hate. But you saw social media come up, and I just spent the last 9 months running to be the next mayor of London, and it got intense. There was like 100 pieces of media. I was on every newspaper, every television station. They came after me, Phil. I was the ex-banker, breakdancing, urine drinking, former heroin overdose guy. It was brutal the way they came at me, but that's just part of the game, right? And I was wondering, how have you learned that, and what lessons can you give to other people? Because they might not be as big as you, and they see 4 million followers on Instagram. They don't realize that sometimes the majority of those people that aren't so nice. so how do you process or understand the social media phenomenon? And then how do you try to educate the younger people about it? Because for them, their digital presence is almost their own presence. And that's kind of a weird and scary thing.
Yeah, I never thought that my digital presence would be my identity. I come from a generation of bodybuilders that you knew about us through websites, but most importantly, magazines. Once those went away, that was like, well, how are they going to know who I am? Like, what's going on? And we were in this space where none of us got it right. None of us had PR companies come in and try to coach us on what to say, what to tweet, what not to say. And we didn't get the permission to be ourselves. We never truly got the permission. There was no person that said, here's Instagram, here's a platform to do this, this, and this. Be yourself, and we will love you for who you are, no matter what it is. No, you started seeing a lot of people take advantage of one another, people being disingenuous, nonstop, photoshopping images of themselves.
To continue watching the rest of the episode for free, visit our website londonreal.tv or click the link in the description below.